Hello, our names are Bubnova Anastasiia and Galchenko Alexey. We would like to introduce our review of the traditional use, clinical efficacy, and safety of natural aphrodisiacs published in the Natural Products Journal. Today, the market for natural or traditional aphrodisiacs is extremely well developed. One can buy preparation of plant or even animal or mushroom origin in order to influence the sex life in many international online stores. Why is the demand for natural aphrodisiacs so high?
First of all, this is due to the fact that conventional medicine offers a very limited repertoire of drugs that affect sexuality. Basically, there are drugs that inhibit phosphodiesterase 5, which increase erection in the presence of sexual arousal. In addition, there are drugs from the group of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors that somewhat reduce arousal and thus prolong sexual intercourse on the part of a man. And that's probably all. However, people want to influence other aspects of sexuality, both in themselves and in their partners or potential partners.
The search for scientific publications was carried out in such databases as Scopus, PubMed, Cochrane, Medline, Google Scholar, and World Health Organization. We have found evidence for the clinical efficacy of several natural aphrodisiacs. You can see substances that have shown effectiveness in clinical studies on your screen. Thus, in relation to libido, a positive effect in women was demonstrated by tribulus and baraga, while sopalmeta boosted libido in men. Muirapuama, ginseng, maca, and fenugreek increased libido in both sexes. Ginseng, maca, and fenugreek were also able to increase sexual arousal. For erectile dysfunction, yohimbine, ginseng, sopalmeta, and muirapuama have been found to be effective. Alcohol increased the intensity of orgasm and lubrication in women. Fenugreek had these effects in both sexes. Baraga improved the sensitivity of erogenous zones with the local application in women. Erycoma longifolia was found to be able to accelerate steroidogenesis. Sopalmeta can be used to alleviate the symptoms of prostatic hyperplasia. The use of tribulus and baraga correlated with general sexual satisfaction in women, while fenugreek and ginseng showed this effect in both men and women. Some drugs have shown themselves to be extremely dangerous, even fatal. These were Spanish fly, mad honey, and Colorado toad. In more detail, we recommend to familiarize with the results directly in the text of the article.
So why have all these drugs not found a wide use in conventional medicine? There are several reasons for that. Evidence is extremely limited. The few studies that we did manage to find often had small sample size. Many of them were not blinded or even didn't have a control group. The design of vast majority of studies didn't imply objective results. Studies in sexology, in the absence of objective indicators, are forced to rely on the subjective testimony of patients. In this regard, the role of the researcher is extremely important, who must carefully ensure that the patient correctly understands the question he is asked. And here we face with another problem. In many studies, the subjects underwent a written questionnaire and there was no opportunity to make sure that the patient was answering exactly the question that the researcher had in his head. Finally, in sexology, at least at the Philistine level, there is a confusion in terminology. After analyzing the evaluation materials used, we didn't have a strong feeling that the patient could in no way confuse sexual desire with sexual arousal, or satisfaction with sexual life with power of orgasm. Many of the identified correlations claimed to be causal, but could hardly be such. We also consider it necessary to reiterate that many drugs have shown their side effects in studies. Some of them we consider extremely dangerous. Pharmacological support in sexology is a very promising area of research. We are convinced that the market of sexological drugs will develop rapidly in the coming years. This requires further large, randomized, carefully designed studies of substances that can affect the sexual sphere, including natural aphrodisiacs.